Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston at defeatyourcravings.com. And I am here with a kind-hearted woman named Sarah Jane, who's agreed to let me record her session and share it with you so that you can benefit from her experience and strength and wisdom and hope, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Sarah Jane?
Yeah.
Okay. You're very agreeable. Why don't we start with just a little bit of a background about what food was like for you, where did the trouble start, and how did you wind up here?
Yeah, so I am 45. So I have cycled probably just about and tried every variation of a diet. I was always overweight as a child and was overweight until I was about 18. As a child, I was always chubby. Never really was challenged much about it by parents, but by 18, I kind of became a bit vain and decided that it was kind of chubby to be too attractive. So decided to go on a diet. And I went to a dieting club when I was 18 and lost 5 stone.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm very small. I'm only 5'1". Well, I lost 4 stone then, and then over the next year, then I lost another stone, and I was probably very light coming into my 30s. So I kept it off from I was 21 right through, and I have always kind of maintained my weight, give or take a stone. 14 pounds was American value, but yeah, I've managed to maintain a relatively healthy weight for my height. The difficulty has been the efforts and the means I've gone to do that in my adult years, and that's the bit probably where I found you, because although my weight, I look very healthy and I'm a very healthy weight for my height, the mental torture and the things that I have done, probably especially since I've had my children, to maintain that has been a constant distraction that I don't really enjoy in my head. I eat well. I never have done anything terribly restrictive or dangerous or silly, but just the mental space that it takes up for me is just a mental distraction. I just kind of think this is absolute madness. There must be an easier way. I've been vegetarian from I was 21. And around my 30s, I found John McDougall and went on the Starch Solution, and that was probably the greatest piece I ever had. I ate what I wanted. That was whole food, plant-based, and I kind of was very content there. Then I had my children when I was 32 and 35. I had 2 kids, and I was completely plant-based with much stress from all the medical people around me at the time. When I had my first child, it was probably the healthiest.
What was the stress that you had? I didn't understand.
The medical team around me were stressed that I didn't, how they were going to manage this vegan pregnancy. It was quite a thing then. It was sort of a bit more modern than it is now, and it was less common. And particularly in Northern Ireland, they were kind of worried about what that meant. I probably had the healthiest diet compared to most people that they saw in the clinic. But they were kind of saying, we just need to be sure the baby's healthy. We need to be sure that you're healthy. And I was the healthiest probably I've ever been at that stage of my life. And then I rediscovered chocolate. My teenage years, I spent all of my lunch money from I went to big school on chocolate and Coke. So my mum gave me money every day for the canteen to go and buy lunch. I never made it to the canteen. I just spent it on the vending machines, and it was on chocolate and Coke, which we obviously can't buy in schools anymore. They seem to have shut that down. And to be honest, that's my vice. There's not really much else. My diet overall is generally pretty good, but I have a terrible sweet tooth, and it's chocolate and Pepsi Max, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, and I would drink probably about 8 cans of Coke a day. and would eat as much chocolate as I can manage in a day. And then I try and balance that out with either not having dinner, or not having lunch, or not having breakfast to try and compensate for all the calories I know I've eaten. And so the cycle continues, and then I have days where I'm really, really good, and then I have days where I'm really, really bad. And then I would scroll for the next solution. So I have been plant-based. Then I had my children. It kind of all went a bit topsy-turvy whenever I had them, because it was supposed it was stressed. I was doing a lot more social eating, a lot more junk food really, and people kind of challenging all of the time what I ate, and it kind of became a thing. And you're kind of out for coffee a lot with mums and on mums and tots groups, so you kind of have to eat the biscuit and the cup of tea, or everybody kind of asks you why you're not eating it. So I kind of just ate vegetarian food really, with bits and pieces of chocolate and cake and buns. And I have never really got over that in the 10 years since I had my second child, of eating too much junk and not much other food. And I'm kind of sick of it. I would really just like to have peace. And then people say, well, the reason that you can't manage the sweet stuff is because you don't eat enough protein, and you need to eat protein. So I tried that for a bit, and I was eating eggs and yogurt, and I really struggled mentally with the thoughts of the unhealthiness, probably, of the eggs and the dairy. But meanwhile, I'm eating bars of chocolate. So it's kind of just feels so, I suppose, lacking in consistency in any aspect of my identity as a vegetarian, as a healthy vegan, when you're eating all of this stuff secretly that I really shouldn't be eating. And people say, well, if you don't restrict it and just allow yourself to eat whatever you want, then you wouldn't have this issue. And I've tried moderation, I've tried to have a little bit, but it's never quite enough.
Where are you now? Are you eating chocolate and Diet Coke and
Yeah,
biscuits and tea? You are. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
You're obsessing about it. It's on your mind all the time.
Yeah, like I buy a weekly shop for groceries for our family. I'm a mom with two kids, a husband, and I bought the Tesco shop saying, right, I'm going to be sensible and buy some biscuits so we don't restrict, and we can have a biscuit after tea. I ate all of the biscuits on Sunday night, and I bought a bag of vegan, kind of like Smarties, but they're vegan version. I ate them
Sure.
all as well. I was
Sure.
gonna, like sort of put them out over the week and allow myself a few every day, and I ate them all in like handfuls. On Sunday night, they never made it. Neither of the things. I ate the whole packet of biscuits, and I ate all of the sweets, and that would be typical of me. If I open it and I start it,
Been there,
it
done that.
never
I
it never
understand.
makes it to tomorrow.
Sarah Jane, what drew you to Defeat Your Cravings, and
I
how can I help you?
The whole model of rational recovery. I kind of read that, and then somebody had pointed out a book to me. Is actually a GP. I went to GP and said, I actually think my head's gone mad with this kind of constant worry and rationalization of what am I going to eat today? What diet am I following today, to kind of capture some sense of sanity in my madness. And she recommended a book that Jack Tempey had written that was about food. I think it was The Feast Beast or something. And I read that, and that kind of led me to your book. I've read it. I bought the nighttime binges. I've kind of read them all, and I know that actually it's a decision that I need to make, to stick at one thing and stick at it.
If you weren't worried about social compliance and you could eat what you really believed was healthy, you've been around for 45 years and you've read a lot of books and you've done
Too
a lot of
many.
things. What do you really believe is the healthiest thing that's going to cause the least of food obsession for you?
Whole food, plant-based. I didn't have an issue with my weight then. I had a very healthy, natural weight. I didn't think about calories. I never, don't even think I had scales at the time, but I was a very healthy, we had great skin. I didn't obsess about anything. I ate the occasional bar of chocolate, but I ate a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit. There was no restriction. I had a really healthy relationship with food, and that was probably the time where I faced the most challenging criticism from other people. But actually, I would say it was probably the best place, compared for me trying to do moderation doesn't work in
Okay.
anything really.
Okay. That's approximately how I eat, by the way, just so you know.
I
Oh,
know, because that's why you kind of understand where
I
I'm at.
do. I do.
Yeah.
And I know it's harder over there than it is over here, although I think it's getting better, I hear.
The irony is, it's actually much easier, because I would say that phase when I was at my healthiest was just before my first child was born, and that was 13, so now 13. And then it was actually much easier to be whole food, plant-based than it is now, because there's so much vegan junk food, like the fake burgers, the fake nuggets, the fake chocolate. It's
Yeah.
all that
But
stuff
if
has
you're whole
kind of
food
exploded.
plant-based, that all just
Yeah.
falls out. That just
Yeah, and
falls
that's
by
the
the
stuff
wayside.
that,
I'm going to interrupt you and talk over you just a little bit
yeah.
because I want to get focused in the interest of time for you so we can really nail this down. If your food bullseye was whole food plant-based, would there be any exceptions? You said an occasional bar of chocolate. What does that mean? Do you want to make that exception? If you were to say, I'll never eat anything besides whole food plant-based foods again, would that be satisfying or do you need to make some exceptions?
I probably need to honestly make some exceptions because although Northern Ireland has come on a lot, I go to my mum's and she thinks anything that's vegetarian is vegan. She doesn't really always get the difference, and as long as it's vegetarian, and I am not going to be obnoxious about that either. If she has bought a veggie burger, I will eat that. I do it for the health reasons, not so much for the ethical issues. Although when you start to follow that, then you become concerned about the ethical issues too. But it's more so for the health benefits. It's what attracted me to whole food plant based.
So if you allowed an exception when your mother had purchased something for you, vegetarian items your mom has purchased,
Yeah.
what other exceptions would there be?
I don't know that there needs to really be any. I think if somebody were to offer me something, a situation where I've been invited to a meal and they've made a mistake or they have misunderstood what my dietary preference is, then I wouldn't want to offend somebody. I might eat it, but provided it wasn't meat or it wasn't anything. So I think in those situations, I'm happy to be vegetarian if I have to be. But in my own dietary choice, it would be whole food, plant based.
Okay. So if your mother buys something for you or somebody else made a mistake and got you something vegetarian as opposed to whole foods
Mm.
plant-based, then you would do that. But
Yeah,
otherwise, you're whole foods plant-based, period, end of story.
yeah.
Take a breath for me and let me know if that sits right with you.
Probably birthdays is the only other thing that I would feel that it would be okay, or Christmas or something, to eat something that maybe, and to be honest, I don't need to. There's plenty of things that I could be prepared to be whole food plant based and to bring my own things with me. So probably not.
So you don't want to make those an exception.
No.
So it's really just if you're going to offend your mother or someone else in a social situation that you can expand to have something vegetarian.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think I'm not going to be obnoxious about it and refuse to eat in a situation where somebody has done their best to provide a meal for me. And like at a wedding or something where they have given you a vegetarian option, there's things that I wouldn't love. Don't love cheese, don't love certain things, but I certainly would make my best to eat something there without being difficult. So I think that's fair. Maybe the kids' birthdays or family birthdays to have a slice of cake or one. I think that's probably the only other variation that I might think of, a very special occasion when it's their birthday to have. To be honest, I'm not even really a cake fan. It's always been the chocolate for me. It's never really been. I'm very happy to pass up everything else for a bar of chocolate, if I'm honest.
So I'm confused. Are we having a slice of cake on birthdays or not?
No, I don't really like cake that much.
Okay. So that was just your pig sneaking in for a second. Okay.
Yeah, just having a thought.
Okay. So you're allowing vegetarian options when you're in a social situation and someone made an effort for you.
Yes,
You're going to eat vegetarian if you want to in social situations.
yes.
Okay. Is there any other time when you would not eat whole foods plant-based?
No.
When you're eating vegetarian options in social situations, are you sticking with whole foods or can you have some vegan junk food or vegetarian junk food?
If we're talking about like the savoury things, that's not really ever been a trigger for me or an issue for me. Like, if a fake burger, or like I will eat something if someone's bought it for me. It's the sweet things, it's the desserts that are the ones that cause me to
Okay.
struggle, but not so much if I'm giving it at an event or a special. I only overeat those things usually when I'm at home.
If it's vegetarian in a social situation and someone made an effort, then you'll do it
Yeah, I will
without,
eat it.
without a lot of consideration for if it's whole foods or not.
Yes, I think
And
that's fair.
well, this is pretty clear. It's whole foods plant-based at all times except for social situations when you can be vegetarian if you defend someone by not doing that.
Yeah,
Take a breath and let me know, does that sit well with you?
yeah, it does.
This has the potential to clear away a lot of the mental obsession. It's a very, very clear rule. There are no questions about whether it's okay or not. And so your pig will stop trying to escape eventually.
Yeah. And I did so well on this before. Like I was consistent with it for years. And it works so well because you just eat really well.
What would it mean to you if you're back on this for 90 days?
I
What do you
think
think?
I would feel authentic because I have argued the case for whole food plant based with friends, with family for years, saying like this is really good. And people used to comment like you look really well, but it must be a really tough life. And I know it's not tough because the food is really enjoyable and it tastes good and it's easy and it's simple and there's so many benefits to it health wise. My skin was better and I don't have the mental juggling of how am I going to undo that whole packet of biscuits I've eaten? What am I going to do tomorrow to remedy what I've done? And it never sat well with me eating eggs and yogurt anyway. I just felt like a fraud really and being a bit ashamed that I was eating those things after promoting a whole food plant based diet for years. And I think I would feel better about my own identity and sticking with something that actually feels right for me, than trying to juggle so many other ideas that never really sat well.
So you'd be walking the walk. You'd feel like you had integrity. Your skin would feel better. You
Yeah,
wouldn't be engaged in compensatory eating to try to make up for what you did. You
yeah.
wouldn't have all these really difficult food decisions to make. Your skin would be better. What else would be better?
I wouldn't be preoccupied and I wouldn't be scrolling on Instagram or reading more books or trying to find another solution. It's a really simple solution, actually. It's fruit, vegetables, whole grains. Like it's so simple. It's easy enough to find those foods. You really don't have an excuse. You're not counting macros and counting grams of protein in your head all day and trying to work out whether that's the reason why.
You would stop diet hopping. You'd stop
Yes,
obsessively counting calories and macros. You,
yes,
you would just eat what nature had to offer.
yes. It would be great.
What would happen in 5 years if you keep jumping around and giving into all these social conventions and pressure and having chocolate? And what would happen if you did that for the next 5 years?
I'm actually a bit ashamed to admit this. It's probably been 10 years of going back and forward on many different ideas, and it just robs me of just living a normal, authentic life. There are so many other things I could do with the time and energy I've spent reading up on things and looking for the reasons that to justify some other type of eating. And I just think it's so clear cut. It would give me back my time, it would give me back being present and being fully available to my family, to friends, and being interested in so many other things. I'd have time for hobbies besides looking for solutions. And I know what the solution actually is the most ironic thing about it. And I've wasted so much time looking for something else. And I think it's other people kind of putting ideas in my head and I run with them for whatever reason I don't know. And I know ultimately that I had the solution all along and it's just sticking with it consistently without being side railed. So I think in 5 years' time, if I didn't do this, I would still be in the same roller coaster and I would still be swinging between different ideas and feeling really frustrated with myself. And I'd probably gain and lose the same. I would imagine the older I get, it would be maybe more weight. It's a stone, give or take now. You just think if I kept doing this, it would probably be another stone maybe on top of that. I love to run, so I run and that probably helps me manage that. And I have dabbled in bits of intermittent fasting and things like that to try and juggle when I've overeaten on biscuits and I've overeaten on other foods. And while that works because I'm young and fit and able to do it, it won't always be an option. And I need to eat better for my health and for my well being and for the peace that I'm asking for. So it's the best option all around.
I have a friend who eats like you're describing, and I do too. He describes it as a 3-word food plan. He says, eat what grows. That's what it does. Just eat what grows. Period. End of story. And then he's fine. So
It's
it's a,
that simple, isn't it?
and when you think about all the years we spent reading all those diet books and counting macros and calories and everything like that, when you could
It's
just
madness.
eat what
Yeah.
grows. It's a problem of modern society. I think 10,000, 15,000 years ago, we would have just eaten what grows, period, end of story, case closed. Okay. Do you want to commit to this? Eat,
Yes.
eat what grows, unless you're in a social situation when you can have a vegetarian exception.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think that sounds good.
It sounds right to me. Sounds right to me from what you're saying. Well, do you call it your pig? Do you call it your food
Yeah,
demon? Okay.
yeah.
Why does your pig say that you can't or shouldn't or won't stick to just eating what grows?
Because I don't stick to it consistently. And I did, the irony is I actually did do for years. It's like a month before Christmas. You're never going to survive all the Christmas parties and festivities. You may as well wait to January. You may as well wait to Monday.
Mhm.
There's too many delicious things coming up in the next 4 or 5 weeks. Just wait and join everybody else in the January diet tribe. And it would say to me that, you're already slim. It doesn't really matter. You should be able to treat yourself and have some other foods because you're slim and you don't need to worry about your health because you are still healthy and a bit, everything in moderation. That's a lie I'm probably told, but I actually don't moderate anything well, and that's the problem. But that's the kind
I'm
of
just
things
writing
that,
all these down. We'll come back to
yeah.
every last one. Okay.
You're missing out on some delicious foods and life's short, and you may as well just live your life and live in life with a normal attitude to food, which is eat everything, and that's healthy without restriction, without turning anything down. Just eat like a normal person. Those are the kind of things that I balance and juggle probably and think about that talks me out of it.
Anything else?
You don't want to always be the awkward person who eats differently to everybody else.
What else?
I think probably that's them all that I can think of.
Let's go through them then, okay?
Yeah,
Remember, the pig wins by focusing on a half truth with a bigger lie.
yeah.
So we can acknowledge the half truths, but then we want to look for the lie. When the pig says you've never stuck to it consistently, where's the truth in that and where's the lie?
I haven't stuck to it consistently probably since I have had my children, but before that, and I think it was when I had my children, but they're not vegetarian either. So there's probably a lot more snacky foods which they don't need, to be honest, either. And it's my choice to buy the food. So there's a whole pile of things that I'm doing here that I could do better to help myself stick to it. But I did consistently stick to it for years and had the best health and felt really good. So the lie is it is totally doable, and I know I can stick to it consistently once I put my mind to it.
You know it because you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you fell away for a decade after you have your kids, you're not the only person who struggled after they had their kids. That doesn't mean that you need another solution. It probably just means you should just resume what was working for you.
Yeah.
Kids are a little older, a little less stressed than it used to be, although not a lot if it's only 10 years. Um, but you're perfectly capable of doing this, and you just told me all the benefits, all the reasons you want to do that.
Yeah.
You really want to walk in integrity.
Yeah.
Your pig says you'll never survive parties and holidays. You should wait until January and start with the diet tribe then.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why it would be better to be whole foods plant-based through these holidays? Any way you would enjoy the period more?
If I was whole food plant based, I would
Hmm?
enjoy not having a really sick tummy going to bed because I've overeaten every night. I would enjoy getting up and feeling virtuous. There's so much chocolate and sweet stuff around, and that is the thing that it's not even anything else, to be honest, that I eat that isn't whole food plant based. It's pretty much chocolate is my nemesis, and I could eat so much of that over Christmas because it's justified and there's so much of it around, and the children get so much of it gifted to them, and it's the house is full of it. Wherever you go, you're offered sweets and treats. But I end up being so greedy in those situations that I feel so unwell, and it would be lovely not to feel unwell all of Christmas and not to wake up in January going, what am I going to do now? To manage my weight and to feel healthy and to feel well and to feel good about myself.
That's quite a few reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to have any exceptions over the holidays whatsoever? Or just want to stick with the simple rule?
I think on Christmas Day, I think it would be totally acceptable to have a dessert or something. I usually start Christmas Day with a box of chocolates, and I'm not joking. That would be my breakfast every Christmas Day. And you kind of come into your Christmas dinner feeling slightly queasy before you even start. Then it just goes on from there. You eat your Christmas dinner, and then my sister and I would both eat lots of sweets as the evening goes on, whatever there is, and you just keep going. But I think to have a dessert is reasonable on Christmas Day. And I think that's what the likes of John McDougall, he was the person who got me into whole food plant based in the first place, would the occasions that you eat sweets are Christmas Day, Easter, and Halloween you have a treat, but not the whole year round. Like those days are meant to be the exceptions rather than eating those things every day, which is what I have been doing.
We'll make an exception with one treat of your choosing, one serving of your choosing
Yeah,
on Christmas Day, Easter, and Halloween.
yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. So now do you feel like you could get through the holidays?
Yeah, it'll be a challenge, but I think it would be really good for me to have that clear line that I don't do it.
Sarah Jane, when your pig says that you're already slim and you can get away with the treats, what's the problem with that line of thinking?
It doesn't mean that I'm healthy. Just being slim doesn't necessarily guarantee you health or the well-being that I deserve. I don't think I need to lose any weight. That's not what this is. It's the mental juggling that
Right. Because
I
you
don't want to do anymore.
you don't want to get away with anything. What you want is your mental freedom.
Yes.
You want to feel in
Well,
integrity. You want to feel like
I want to
you're
feel
making.
good in my skin and not to worry about how to manage that better than what I do. And I know what the solution is the irony of all of this conversation. I actually do know the solution is whole food plant based. And I know that being slim doesn't reflect my health because what I do and what I eat isn't healthy at the minute. It's not good for me and it's not good for my skin. It's not good for so many things. The money that I spend in junk, I have bought Christmas gifts, chocolate gifts repeatedly because I've eaten them before I gave them and had to buy them again and buy them again.
I remember
And
that.
I have the same of Easter eggs and the same of a selection box. I honestly,
Yeah,
it's
you
actually
don't need to do
shameful.
that. You don't need to do
No,
that.
I'd actually save myself some money without having to repurchase the gifts I've eaten.
What about when your pig says everything in moderation is fine?
I have tried moderation every day, probably for 10 years. And you can justify anything in the moment saying it's moderate to have a bar of chocolate, it's moderate to eat this, but actually, I really struggle to do moderate anything. I just can't do it. I have repeatedly failed. I try the test every day, I convince myself today's a day, and I think that's what the pig tells you. You absolutely can moderate and eat like a normal person, but I have tried so many times to eat one sweet or one bar of chocolate and be satisfied, and I'm not.
You know, the way that normal people eat leads to all types of sickness and disease. I don't
Yeah.
really strive to be moderate. I don't
Or to be
strive to be
normal.
too normal. I don't. I
Yeah.
don't. I want to make decisions with my head. I want to have a simple plan. I don't want to have
Yeah.
to think about it all the time. And I don't want to get caught up with the crowd. We live in a very sick world. The crowd doesn't eat well at all.
I've just tried so many times, like probably 1,000 times in the past, few years to try and just eat a few sweets. But I know, like I bought the biscuits on just yesterday or the day before and I ate them all. And people wouldn't believe because I am slim that I actually do that, but I do. And they wouldn't believe when I say I can eat a lot of sweets and a lot of treats and a lot of chocolate. They just look at me and think I'm not really being truthful. I'm one of those people who said, yes, I eat a lot, but I don't, but I actually do.
If you wake up one day, Sarah Jane, and you realize that you're slapping yourself in the head with a spatula, it's a good idea to stop.
Yeah, you're right.
I,
Yeah,
I
it's shameful.
apologize for interrupting you. I'm just looking at the interest of time, okay?
Yeah.
The pig says that life is short and you're missing out on all this delicious food.
I don't know how much longer I would get away with the amount of sugar that I can consume in a week. I don't know how much longer it will be before it doesn't take toll on my health. So saying that, life's short and I don't think I'm giving myself the best chance for longevity and for health and for well-being. And I just think I'm missing out on the peace,
You're missing out
present.
on all the delicious life.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you keep listening to the pig, you miss out on delicious life, and you already missed out on a lot of it these last 10 years, right?
Yeah. That's true.
And then finally, the pig says you don't want to be the weirdo who eats differently. We kind of sort of address that, right?
Yeah. I don't really care that much. I've kind of been weird because I have been vegan and strictly whole food plant based before. I already have that label. People don't know that I have jostled in and out of it really because it's kind of in secret that I've tried other things, or not in secret, it's probably the wrong way, but I've dabbled in other things, but ultimately I've still promoted whole food plant based as the best. And so they have thought I'm weird still anyway. They haven't known any different.
You know, I really do want to be the weirdo who eats differently.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to eat like everybody else. I want to be the weirdo with my eating. Eating healthy is weird to most people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
How confident are you that you're going to, for the next 90 days, eat entirely whole food plant-based? except for vegetarian items in a social situation and one dessert on Christmas Day?
I'm going to go for it.
How confident are you?
I would say 85%.
So what's left over?
Probably just the volume of social events and occasions that come up in the next 4 or 5 weeks to Christmas, and having the the ability to stand firm, and I think a lot of it's being prepared, having some food with me, or not leaving the house without a snack or something, a piece of fruit, or so that I always have an option to eat that doesn't leave me feeling deprived or unprepared, and in a situation where there is, and probably eating a good breakfast is probably another thing I can do to make that more likely that I will succeed, about doing some planning and preparation really for it.
How are you going to
Um,
remember that?
I could create a rule that I will always leave the house with some food that meets my whole food plant-based, and that I won't rely on other people to provide the food that I need, because that's where it probably goes wrong, where you kind of in a situation going in, we eat out quite a bit with our children at weekends, we cafes and restaurants and different things, and they're usually brilliant, but it's the coffee shops when you go in, everybody else is getting a piece of cake and a cup of tea, and I'm kind of looking, and they don't often have an option. But if I had fruit with me, then I don't have an excuse,
Yeah, you just
and it's being prepared.
pop a sweet potato in the microwave, put it in Tupperware, take it with you.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. I have a mantra that says going out without food is like going scuba diving without an oxygen tank. It's just it's just not I need to have the essentials with me. I can't
And
count
you're
on.
leaving yourself ridiculously vulnerable in those situations, that you will, if you're hungry, you have to eat something. So it makes it kind of acceptable, but it's an excuse really. If you want to stick to something, you kind of have to be prepared and not expect other people to meet
Yeah.
my dietary requirements.
Or to have the time to stop at a supermarket or a produce
Yeah.
store or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What questions or concerns do you have?
I don't really have any. I've been here before, and I know it's the right thing. I decided to thrash it out with somebody.
Yeah,
And
you kind of needed permission, right?
yeah, because my husband just goes, I don't really care what you eat, just eat. He's got a very healthy, like, he just eats when he's hungry. He doesn't have any of these compulsive decisions, or doesn't have any binge type behaviours like I would. He doesn't eat the whole packet of biscuits and then wonder why he's done it or how that happened. Every time you do it, you sort of wake up in the sort of sugar coma and go, why did I do that? None of those things happen to him, so he doesn't understand my dilemma and me trying to say, but I need to have rules. I need to have a fixed concept of what I want to do, so that I don't have to juggle in my own mind every day. It just takes too much energy and time away from so many other lovely things I could be doing, and it feels really good to have permission and to have the conversation.
I'm
Yeah,
so glad, Sarah Jane. Would you like to follow up after January?
I would love to.
Will you just write me a note on New Year's Day? Let me know how you did. No matter how you did. I know you're going to do great, but no matter how it is, just write me a note and we'll follow up, okay?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. I think you did great. I think you've got a great plan, and I think you understand the squeals.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.